Hey everyone, welcome back to Reading with Raptors. I am here all set up with our resident turkey vulture, who we call Nero. I wanted to read about talk about turkey vultures today. I actually have a book about one of their cousins, the California condor, but I wanted to give him a chance to get out here and eat a little bit of food. So you can see there's some nice pieces of rat here behind us. Usually any frequent watchers of Reading with Raptors who have seen videos with Nero before knows that he tends to wander around a bit, so you might see him moving all around. So I'll try to stay kind of over to the side off of the screen, so it'll just be the book and Nero, but he may sometimes wander over kind of behind where the book is. So he might be in and out as we go along. Let's see if I can adjust a little bit while we're still kind of getting ready here. But this is our resident turkey vulture Nero. He's 47 years old this year, a professional at teaching people about turkey vultures. Here in Minnesota, at least here in the upper Midwest, this is our only native vulture species, and we only get them during the spring, summer, and fall. So they've been back here for a little over a month, maybe a month and a half at this point. I think I started seeing them in early April. So getting close to 2 months now that they've been back. And we will have them here up in the upper Midwest until kind of early fall, so kind of around September, October, usually when we see them start heading down south to stay a little bit warmer. Down in the range we might have some of our other vulture species here in kind of this continent. So we're going to take a look at a book actually called Condor's Egg. This is written by Jonathan London and illustrated by James Chaffee. It's got some amazing illustrations. Again, this is kind of the cousin. Sorry, we're seeing some behind the scenes stuff here. This is by, the condor is kind of a cousin of the turkey vulture. So obviously here in Minnesota, we do not have any California condors. They are pretty restricted in their range. Down further in kind of the American Southwest, kind of near, as you might imagine, California, but mostly nowadays near Utah, Arizona, maybe sometimes up into Colorado, kind of that whole general region of kind of the Southwest, big open spaces, lots of kind of rocky cliffs, big open desert formations, things like that. It's usually where we see a lot of condors. So that's where we will see some of these. If you're lucky enough to either live out in that area or ever get a chance to head out in that direction, you can actually see, especially now in 2021, you could see more California condors than ever before in most of our lifetimes, since they are an endangered species who are currently in the process of recovering. We'll read a little bit more about that in this book. So let's get started. Maybe I'll just leave the camera this way. We'll see what we can do. Yeah, it seems to want to go wander off in this direction. Like I said, I've got some food all set up for him over here, so maybe I'll see if I can kind of give him a few more bits over here to maybe convince him to go hang out over on the other side where we can see, but maybe in the meantime I've tried switching positions before with him, and then he usually ends up kind of whichever side I'm sitting on anyway, so I don't want to mess around with it too much. So maybe we'll just do this in the meantime so you can still kind of see him. So this is a beautiful kind of sky. See, it kind of looks like a sunrise, a beautiful sunny day. This is the first page of Condor's Egg. Here we go. Among the rugged slopes of inland cliffs, there live two California condors. See these giant birds with their big, long, dark feathers. Big, iconic white patches on their wings. One condor flies, soaring high in the sky. Circling, he rides the warm air higher than the tops of the clouds. See this beautiful kind of long wings with those long feathers over this big open landscape, over these big kind of rocky cliffs and mountain structures. Companion of the sun and wind, friend of the wild mountain silence, he sails above the high, lonely cliffs. He glides over a hidden lake nestled like an egg, far, far below. The condor tilts and circles, sliding down the wind out of the blinding sun. You can see this beautiful kind of small lake there, kind of nestled in the mountains. Beautiful long outstretched wings. You can see the kind of bare head of the California condor. You can see a similar thing on one of their smaller cousins here in the turkey vulture. Carrion eater, bone picker, nature's cleaner upper, feathered giant of the sky. You can see him using that long kind of curved beak to maybe tear off a small morsel of meat while scavenging. And that big bare head can be great for getting in and working on those carcasses. You can see those long wings here too on the turkey vulture. Just really want to go wander off in that direction. I'm not sure what's so exciting over there. There are a couple of crates and that's about it. After his meal, the great bird of prey plows through the air to his high cliff cave. There, his mate arranges a ring of pebbles around the egg, a jewel so fragile, flawless. They wait, taking turns, keeping their egg warm. So they have this giant egg with these nice kind of ring of pebbles, kind of keeping it safe, keeping it from rolling away or rolling around, so keeping it nice and tucked away in their nice little cave. In the night, a storm brews. Black clouds boil up. Thunder rumbles and growls, and electric branches illuminate the sky. Suddenly, a bolt of jagged fire strikes above the condor's cave with a terrible crash. Rocks tumble and crumble. With an explosion of wings and feathers, the condors flail and flap. So here they are worrying about this bolt of lightning striking the cliffside above them, looking down at that egg so preciously protected in the cliff. When the dust and feathers clear, the egg is cracked with a fine zigzag line like a jab of lightning. The two condors settle together above the egg. Is this the end or the beginning of a new life? So here's that egg with a crack across it. They are looking on, waiting to see what it does. All night, the wind roars and lashes rain at the cave's door. And throughout the storm, the lightning cracks open the night sky like an enormous black egg. But by dawn, the storm is over. The sky is clear. The sun enters and warms the cave. You can see this beautiful landscape around them, some of the damage from the lightning strike still up here. Here's our egg still sitting, waiting to see what it'll do next. I love seeing large birds like this kind of settle down. You can see their massive wings taking up all that room as they kind of lay down on the ground. And by morning, something begins to stir within the condor's egg. First, a beak, then a talon, then a wet, bald head pushes through. Finally, the whole wobbly chick looking dazed by the light. Here we have our little chick first kind of breaking free of the egg. Here it is all the way out, almost featherless, some of these kind of wet, downy feathers on its body. It's gonna take a long time to grow up and get all the feathers and body size it needs to be a condor out on its own. As mother and father condor gently nuzzle her, the baby stretches her scrawny wings for the very first time. So here we have our tiny baby condor. Sorry, I'm giggling. I just think they look so wonderful with this. They're big, bald heads. They have that really unique kind of face shape, very long for getting in between all the bones and bits of carcasses they might be scavenging off of. With that very kind of round kind of belly look that chicks usually have when they first hatch. I just think it's delightful. So here are the parents checking up on their youngster. In less than a year, she will be able to fly. She will sail among the clouds, companion of the sun and wind, another feathered giant of the sky. So here are the three condors taking off together, as our youngster has grown up to adulthood. You can see her face looks a bit different from, this is one of her parents over here with the kind of darker red, more kind of fuzzy feathers on the face. Maybe some more kind of wattles and wrinkles on there to show that they're adults. But here our little juvenile has kind of some different coloring. Doesn't quite have the big kind of iconic white patch, doesn't quite have the big kind of reddish head. So still growing up a little bit. Full grown, but still kind of getting into adulthood after a few more years. Here is some information about condors. I'll show you the picture here up close, another beautiful illustration of a California condor. But I'll read this, and maybe while I read it, sorry for the shaky camera here for just a moment, but I'll maybe move this a little bit closer so we can watch our turkey vulture here as he hangs out over here. Ooh, somebody has been watching the Cornell Lab's California Condor camera. There are some really great cameras out there. I think there are a couple for California condors, but I know the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, that's allaboutbirds.org, have a great California condor camera that I really enjoy. I like getting I look at the kind of highlight reels on it. I just think it's really wonderful to see these massive birds growing up. Oh, I think that's really cool. It's a great time of year to be watching. So here's a little bit more information about California condors while we watch our turkey vulture. I'm gonna put out a couple more pieces of food maybe over here and see if you might be interested in moving around a little bit. For some reason, we really just want to wander over in that direction. I'm not really sure what's over there that's so exciting. So, more about condors. The California condor is the rarest and largest bird in North America, and one of the largest in the world. It can weigh up to 22 pounds and have a wingspan of over 10 feet. When seen from a distance, it is often mistaken for a small plane. Condors spend most of their daylight hours soaring on winds in search of food. They can glide as far as 10 miles without moving their wings, and single-day flights of up to 100 miles have been reported. They nest in shallow caves on the faces of steep cliffs. Pairs mate for life and lay one egg every other year. In the wild, condors have lived to be 50 years of age. Over 10,000 years ago, condors soared over the prehistoric wilderness, feeding on the carcasses of woolly mammoths, giant ground sloths, and saber-toothed tigers. Unlike its prey, condors survived to be revered by many of the inhabitants of this land. The importance of the condor to native peoples has been recorded in oral legends and rock paintings. Here we go. The coming of our kind of current American civilization has brought many changes to the condor's range. Originally, the condor could be found all across North America, but by the 17th century, let me see if I can adjust this here so we can keep on watching him as he works on getting these tiny pieces of food. Sorry for the kind of shaky camera movements. By the 17th century, its range was confined to the southwest. By the start of this century, it was found only in Southern California. Because of the loss of its habitat, illegal shooting, and poisoning, the condor was soon at the brink of extinction. 1986 was the last year a pair of condors hatched an egg in the wild, and in 1987, in an attempt to save the species, the last free-flying condor was brought in from the wild. For the first time in thousands of years, the condor no longer graced the skies of North America. Only 27 remained, all living in zoos. Only 5 years later, due to the success of the captive breeding program, the population of California condors had nearly doubled, and 2 young chicks were released into the wild. It seems... so the 2 California condors, there were some kind of extraneous details here I was kind of glossing over. So the 2 California condors that were first released are the offspring of the last male and female condor to be brought in from the wild. It seems only fitting that the last pair of free-flying condors would be the parents of the first California condors to return to the wild. It is hoped that one day these feathered giants will once again be seen flying freely across the skies of North America. So that was written by Robert Mesta, the Condor Recovery Program Coordinator. This particular book was printed in 1994. So since then, it's been getting, closer to 30 years since this particular book was printed. Here is, I'll show you this page again. It has some great information on all of the kind of organizations that have been involved with the California Condor Recovery Program. The program itself, the California Department of Fish and Game and the U.S. Forest Service, along with the San Diego Zoo, the Los Angeles Zoo, and the Peregrine Fund, which spearheads a lot of the work being done with California condors now. So since this book was published even in the kind of early 90s, in the kind of almost 30 years since, we've actually seen a lot of great recovery from our California condors. So nowadays, I believe there are about 400 California condors out in the wild. We have a much larger number of them who are currently out in the wild, flying around doing their natural activities, which is scavenging, looking for dead carcasses. What I really liked about the information in the back of this book is that it was talking about what these birds originally kind of developed to scavenge off of, these very large mammals that have gone extinct since, but those giant California condors are still adapted to looking for kind of large carcasses to eat off of. We also have their, again, smaller cousins, the turkey vulture, who adapted to eat some of the smaller carcasses, especially at a time period when there was kind of a very large inland sea kind of area across most of North America. So there were lots of shorelines, lots of great fish, lots of great things washing up on shore, as well as a lot of animals that were going through an extinction event at the time. So lots of great food for scavenging vultures. So that's where we see a lot of our kind of North, Central, and South American vultures originating from, is kind of during the time when a lot of other large animals were around and going extinct. Was actually a great time for a lot of our vultures doing that great scavenging work, serving as our cleanup crew. So turkey vultures here, we can find a lot more widespread than our California condors. We can usually find them across most of North, Central, and South America. They have a couple of cousins, like the greater and lesser yellow-headed vulture, which are very similar looking to turkey vultures, but have some very colorful head colorations. We also have the black vulture that lives also kind of further south in the US and down into Central and South America as well. So we have a lot of different vultures living here in kind of North America, as well as kind of further south in those warmer climates. You can see why warmth might be important with that kind of nice big bald head. Up close you might be able to see he's got some bits of fuzz there, so he's got a little layer of protection, but not much. So it'll be a little bit chilly here further up north as we get up kind of into the northern US and Canada. It gets a little bit too cold for our turkey vultures and our other vultures up there. They need that kind of bare head to be able to get in and eat carcasses and really get in there and get messy. Having long feathers on your head isn't really helpful if you're going to be getting all sorts of gunk on there. So they've got those nice kind of bare heads to help keep themselves nice and clean. You'll also see them, especially this time of year, doing a activity or a behavior that a lot of us do. I know I was doing some of this yesterday when it was really sunny, is sitting out in the sun. They'll actually sit in the sun and you'll see them stretch their wings out all the way. They're actually using the heat and the radiation from the sun to help kind of bake off any extra bits of food that might have gotten caught in their feathers, help kill off any bacteria or parasites or other kind of germs that might have ended up on them from the carcasses that they were eating off of. So it's actually, not only does it probably feel pretty good, but they're actually doing a very important activity by sitting out in the sun, kind of cleaning off their feathers, keeping it nice and warm, and being able to kind of keep themselves nice and clean. Because even our cleanup crew, we want to make sure that they're staying healthy as well. We have, I'm so sorry. Those so kind of rough camera movements, I apologize. Sometimes with the mirrored screen, I confuse myself when I'm moving it around. So let me see if I can lower this a little bit so we can see what he's up to. So right now is fitting with the California Condor's Egg that we just read. It is a little bit of the kind of the tail end of the nesting season for our turkey vultures. Might be still incubating some eggs, but right now we're actually seeing a little bit of what turkey vultures might do. I'm going to stop talking for a second so you can listen to the sounds. So turkey vultures are unable to vocalize. They don't actually have the basically the bird equivalent of the vocal box or the speech box, the kind of larynx that we have that produces sound. They don't have the bird equivalent of that, which is called a syrinx. So right now he's doing the most kind of vocalizations that he can make, which are these kind of grunts and hisses. Since I'm sitting right here, this particular bird is what we call a human imprint, which means that he was raised by people at a young age. And so when we get into springtime, sometimes we get a little bit confused about what turkey vultures are and what people are. So right now we're hearing some of the kind of noises and kind of displays with this kind of big, bright pink head. You might be able to see the tiny little red patch on the top of his chest and get this camera angle. It's a little bit harder to see. But those are all kind of displays that a turkey vulture might do out in the wild to attract other turkey vultures. But since this bird is a human imprint, he doesn't really know the best way to do those. So that's why while I'm sitting here close, so I kind of scooted away to make sure that I wasn't encouraging any of that. So I'm scooted over here a little ways. And you can see he's kind of relaxed here a little bit. But I want you to be able to hear those noises since they can't make the normal vocalizations that a lot of other birds do. They make them kind of grunting or hissing noises, and that's about all the noise that they can actually make. I'm gonna scroll back through here. This particular bird, and why I really enjoy reading about condors when talking about Nero the turkey vulture, the reason why he was imprinted is normally when we think of human imprints, we think of things that kind of happened on accident, as people were trying to help out baby birds that maybe ended up out of their nest or something like that, and we just didn't know the best way to help them. It's really important if you do find any baby wildlife that needs help, that if it's a raptor, you can call the Raptor Center. If you're in Minnesota and it's another kind of animal, you can call the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center here in Roseville, Minnesota. If you are further afield outside of Minnesota, you can search and find your local animal wildlife rehabilitators. But we want to make sure that those animals are taken care of by folks who know how to help them out the best way, so that way they can end up back out in the wild doing their important jobs. Whereas this bird, he was actually intentionally removed from the wild and brought to live with people at a young age because he was actually part of the California condor recovery. So California condors, along with our other kind of North, Central, and South American vultures, have a really great behavior for cooling off, which is called urohydrosis, a very fancy way of saying that they defecate on their own legs to cool off. So if they get too warm, they can't sweat like we do when we get too toasty warm. So instead, they eliminate waste on their own legs. It evaporates and it cools them off. So you can't put bands on their legs like we can with most other birds. So they needed to figure out a way to band California condors without putting any sort of bands on their legs. So they actually took a few turkey vultures, including this particular turkey vulture back in 1974, and intentionally raised them with people, and that way they were able to kind of figure out the best way to put the big kind of colored squares that you'll see on California condor wings pretty often. You'll see those on pretty much any picture of California condors that you can find from recent times. They figured out how to use those using turkey vultures, since turkey vultures have a great healthy population across the United States. So figured, hey, better to use a very similar, if smaller cousin to the California condor rather than do anything that might potentially be harmful to any of the very few remaining California condors. So this is why this particular turkey vulture lives with us and why his story and the California condor are kind of really important to each other, I think. So I really enjoy talking about California condors when talking about Nero, the turkey vulture. Because yes, he is 47 years old this year. He was hatched in 1974. Make sure I'm doing my math right on that. Yeah. I'm just scrolling through to see if there are any questions about turkey vultures or California condors. Like I said, somebody else in the chat mentioned that Cornell Lab of Ornithology has a great nest cam. So you can actually watch all of the events of Condor's Egg. It was by Jonathan London and James Chaffee doing the illustrations. So you can watch kind of all of the events of that unfold in real time on that Nest camera. So I think it's fantastic to watch. Otherwise, folks, thank you all so much for joining us and learning about turkey vultures and the California condor, and learning a little bit about turkey vulture noises and all of that with me. If you are interested in learning more about the Raptor Center and what we're up to, keep an eye here on our Facebook page. As you've probably been noticing, it is baby raptor season. So there are lots of very educational pictures and information about young raptors and all the work that we're doing with them. So if you want to find out ways to learn more about them and support our work with them, you can check out the rest of this Facebook page. You can also look at our website. We're at theraptorcenter.org. We are also over on Instagram at the Raptor Center, so you can check us out on there as well. Otherwise, everyone have a great rest of your day. Enjoy. Hopefully you have some nice, great, warm weather out. Perfect sunny day for seeing some turkey vultures out there in the wild. Have a great week, everyone. We will see you next week for more Reading with Raptors.